Hey everybody, welcome to the Purpose People podcast. Today I've got Linda from BulliesOut. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for
So
having me.
yeah, we've had guests on the past, and some people that have represented you in the past, but now we've got the founder. So all the things you could do in the world, why BulliesOut?
It was after my younger son was badly bullied at school, and I wanted him to talk about it, and he, he was around 11 at the time.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, I'm not talking to anyone face to face. They'll think I'm crazy." And he said, "But I'll speak to somebody online," because computers were in then, just coming in, and he was young. And he said, is there anything on, like an online support group for kids that are bullied? And I couldn't find one.
Wow.
I could find one for self-harm. I could find one for eating disorders, but not for bullying. And he just said, "Well, you've just studied that. You've worked in a school, so why don't you just set one up then?" And the rest, as they say, is history.
How old's your son now?
31.
Wow. Yeah. So you've been doing it a long, long while.
Yeah, 20 years. This is our 20th year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're 20 in May.
Cool. So how many, obviously you do like impact reports and stuff, but how many people have you helped over the course of 20 years?
Gosh.
What would you, if you got a...
Well, last year it was just under 23,000.
Wow.
Year before was 19,500. So it's going up every year. The first few years, I would say maybe the first 6 or 7 years, it was probably around 5,000 to 7,000 because we weren't as widely known as we are now.
Yeah.
And then it started to take a massive leap and go sort of, 10, 12, 15, and then now up to
so
23.
as a combined total, how many people do you think you've reached?
Oh my gosh, I would say at least 500,000.
Wow. And the positive thing with that is that there's 500,000 people that you've helped. That are, I would guess, well, most of them would still be fairly functioning human beings as a result. Which is incredible. So, what was your background before all that, and how's that helped you now?
Well, I was badly bullied at school.
Right. Okay.
Really badly bullied.
Yeah.
Had quite a challenging childhood because of my stepfather. So he was a bully as well. So there's a lot of domestic violence in the household because of him. And I wanted to, when I was at school, I wanted to be a nurse in the Navy.
Okay.
Couldn't swim. I was actually scared of water, so I'm not sure how that was going to pan out.
The Navy, okay.
I just figured, that they'd teach me to swim and I'd get over my fear. That was my thought process anyway. And then when I left the Navy, I was going to have a coffee shop in France.
Wow.
So this was my plan.
This was the plan, but it didn't quite work out that way.
Can't speak a word of French. Although I did, when I was at school, I did learn French. It's just disappeared in my brain of
You need to get Duolingo.
Yeah.
I've been playing with that, learning Italian.
Yeah, my younger son is learning French at the moment. We did go to French classes together, but he absorbed a lot more than me. So that was what I wanted to do. But because of what was going on at home and the bullying, I was a straight A student, and just before my O levels, as they were then, I just had enough. I'd had enough of the bullying at school. I'd had enough of what was going on at home. And one day I ran a lot when I was at school. And one day I just walked out of the door to go to school and just thought, I can't do this anymore. And so I ran to my grandmother. I didn't go to school and just broke down and said, I can't do this anymore. And told her what was going on. I mean, of course she knew what was going on in the home because my mum was her only child.
Right.
And I said, I can't go back to school. I don't want to stay at home. And she said, no, and you're not going back either. And I didn't, and I stayed with her. So of course, my dreams of going to college, as it was then, you went to college to be a nurse straight from school, that all went out of the window because I had to go to work to stay with my grandmother. And I remember being in my job, and of course our subjects were all different then, and my human biology teacher came walking through the door. I worked in House of Fraser, or James Howells as it was then.
Oh, right, okay.
And he came walking through the door, marching through, just stopped in front of me and said, "Out." I said, "Oh, you can't do this to me, I'm working." "No," he said, "you're coming back, you're doing those exams, you're a straight A student, you can't give up your dream." And I said, I can't do this anymore. And I'd also developed an eating disorder.
Right.
And I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm staying with my grandmother, and I'm going to work, and I'll find a different path to follow.
Which is, brave in itself, right? And I think the natural thing is where the tough times come, and we still think we have to keep going down the conventional route.
Yeah.
And I think, like with us as a family, I mean, my eldest was having some challenges in school, and she came to us through bullying and things like that. And she came to us and said, "Look, I just not enjoying this or whatever." And then because of the nature of the curriculum we're doing, we made a decision to homeschool. And then we got the other two go, "Well, if Bella's going to homeschool, then we want to as well." And we made that decision to homeschool all of them. And that was 6 months before the COVID kicked in. So when the whole world are homeschooling their children, we were as well. And I think it's been the making of them. I really do. And I think for us as a family, we're a lot closer because we're not in 1,000 different directions. But I think there is a different path and a different route, and not necessarily a system is the only way.
That's right. That's right. And, I had a lot of comments, you'll amount to nothing without formal exams.
Yeah.
Fine. But
your well-being was the most important thing.
It was. And, at this time, I was nearly 2 years into an eating disorder. I kept running because, of course, I was anorexic. I didn't want to put on any weight. And so my mental health was already in the bin. Yeah. I felt guilty for leaving my mum behind in this domestic violence household. And I had a younger sister as well. Wow. She was 10 years younger than me. And I left... in my head, I left them behind, but I just thought I was not his daughter. Yeah. My sister, she's my half sister, so right. He didn't pick on her, but he picked on me, and it went from verbal abuse to physical abuse, and I just thought, I don't know where I'm going to end up. Yeah. I mean, my dad, bless him, knew of a lot of it, and intervened where he could, but I was worried then that my dad was going to get into trouble for sticking up for me. Of course. And I just thought, well, if I'm out of it, my dad is not going to go around and keep threatening him, and he's not going to get into trouble. But, and my grandmother used to say, we've tried and tried and tried. We can't. Your mum just won't get rid of him. It's not your fault. You're a child. It's not your fault. Yeah. And I stayed with my grandmother then until I got married, because it was when I was working. I met my. I am divorced from my son's father now, but I met my. I still call her my sister-in-law because we're still friends. Yeah. And it was through her that I met. My ex-husband. Right, okay. Yeah, I'm still friends with her. And I stayed with my grandmother until I got married. And then after that, my grandmother came to live with me. So we were extremely close. Wow. Yeah, she was amazing, my grandmother. Amazing lady. Very strong.
Obviously you're coming out of quite a traumatic situation. Yeah. You've got the eating disorder. You've got the challenges of feeling guilty, which is all these things that people go through. So what was special about your grandmother? What did she do that really made it a safe haven?
I think it was just her love, as well, and very strong. My grandfather died in the war. Okay. And so she brought my mum up single-handedly. And I think watching your only child go through domestic violence must be awful, and not being able to stop it, because, you know, my mum wouldn't get out of it. Threw him out, took him back, threw him out, took him back, believed everything he said. But she was always there for my mother. Yeah. Always.
So it's that unconditional love.
Absolutely. You know, she never walked away from her. You know, my mum was back and forth hospital a few times, and my grandmother was always there. She helped her financially. She never, ever sort of put her down because of what she was doing. She understood that he was in her head. Yeah. And that in itself is really hard.
Yeah, of course.
And, you know, like she said, she's my child. I'll never walk away from her.
But she was practically doing it, you know, like practically out working and continually helping.
Exactly.
And then obviously taking you on as well.
And then she took me on, The only time I ever heard her raise her voice to my mother was when my mum came down and said, I'm taking you back home because you're underage, and I can take you to court for that to happen. And my grandmother raised her voice and said, and you ever do that, and that's it between us.
Wow.
And my mum sort of sat down and said, okay, I'm not going to then, you know. She can stay here. Because I think my mum was shocked that this little 5-foot woman, so my grandmother was so elegant, she was beautiful, had actually raised her voice, because she never ever, I never heard her raise her voice. Never heard her swear or anything.
So with that then, with that particular journey then, so you've got that backstory, so to speak, and then you're now, let's say we're going back to the situation where the bullying's kicked off in the next generation. Did it take you back?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was in my 30s before I got my eating disorder under control, and that's because I was put in hospital. And, you know, if I'm honest, I live with that eating disorder every day. And I've slipped in and out of it throughout my life, but I've always managed to get myself under control and not slip back down to the weight I was back then. Yeah. And I just recognised the signs in my younger son, but the school wouldn't listen. No, he's different. Oh my gosh, the times we hear this. Okay, so it's all right for every child that you deem as different to be bullied, is it? No, it's not. And, you know, define different. Yeah. We're all different. Everybody's different to the next person.
100%.
You know, how can you, well, he likes his own company. Oh, don't we all like our own company from time to time? Yeah. He doesn't like reading fiction books. Neither do I. Neither does his older brother. It doesn't mean he deserves to be bullied.
No, exactly.
You know, we all have our own ways and our own likes and dislikes. Yeah. So are you saying then that somebody that wears glasses is different, or the person that doesn't wear glasses is different? So which one is different and which one should be bullied? And this is the argument I kept having with the head teacher. And then one day he suffered a massive panic attack, and he stopped breathing. Oh, wow. And I drove, luckily I was minutes away from our GP surgery. This was on his way to school. And my son is now 6'5", and he's a big lad, so he's always a big lad. And I just picked him up out of my car, left my car doors open, just picked him up, and I ran into the GP surgery. Well, I can't say I ran. I staggered through the door, carrying this child who was already tall and you know, he's a big lad, and just said, he's not breathing, and they just put him down on the floor. Wow. One of the doctors came running out. They put oxygen on him and everything. Thankfully, of course, he's here, so they got him breathing, and he was taken to hospital. Wow. And he said to me then, and he was 10.5 at the time, and he said to me, if this is going to happen throughout my life, I will find a way out. And as I'd attempted suicide twice myself, I knew that he would.
Yeah.
Because we know kids do.
Yeah.
Well, we know adults do.
Yeah, of course, of course.
And I just thought, no, he's not going back to that school.
Wow. So from that though, that it's a very like personal account and the experience that you've gone in, but then you've got enough problems on your hands to then take on a national problem. You know, just seems crazy, you know, like, so, you know, I guess what prompted you to take the challenge on?
Originally, we were just going to be South Wales. So after setting it up, so I used my own money because, you know, I didn't know what to do. I was working in a school. I went in, and during the break I spoke to a colleague and I was explaining to her about it. And yes, I'd gone back to university as an adult.
Yeah.
After having the children and everything. I was in my early 40s when I went back to uni. So yeah, I'd done psychology and social sciences as a mixed qualification. I was working my way through my counselling degree when all of this was happening. And I said to a colleague about it, and I said, you know, we need some sort of support. And if it's online, maybe that's where the kids will go now. Maybe listening to what my son was saying, maybe that's what they need. And then she said to me, when you set it up, I'm in. I'm a counsellor. I'm a qualified counsellor. When you set it up, I'm in.
Wow.
I said, well, you set it up and I'll be in. You know, and we bandied this back and forth for a while. And I spoke to somebody else and they said, I'm in when you do it. And I'm like, oh, come on, putting all the pressure on me. But then it was my son that said it.
Yeah.
And then I spoke to my partner who was working, he worked in Northern Ireland. So we commuted for like 13 years monthly. And he said, I'm behind you, whatever you decide to do. And I said, well, I've got to use savings because I can't, you know, I didn't think anything about setting it up as a charity or anything.
Yeah.
Right, do whatever you need to do. So I found a website designer, told him what I wanted. 2 weeks later, the process started.
Wow.
So it took, you know, I had to write all the content for the website and everything else. Find the people that would be mentoring, as we called it, not counselling at that time. These young people, how it would work. It would be a secure platform for them to use. Put all the safeguarding processes, you know, everything that you needed to do. And then it went live and crashed within about 30 minutes because so many people were trying to access it.
Wow.
It's like, oh my gosh, now what?
Yeah, you've gone from gone from like a problem or a couple of problems to like just craziness.
Yeah, is this going to work? But he did get it back up and running.
Yeah.
And just said, I think you've created a monster. This is a bigger problem than I think you ever believed it was.
So obviously you're in that situation now where you switched this website on, you've made it live, it's an outlet, people are reaching out. There's you and a few people that said, hey, I'm in.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you respond to the cases to start off with? How did it work?
Well, we were explaining that, you know, there might have to be like a slight waiting list.
Yeah.
And we were responding and we were mentoring these young people because it was young people. Some parents would come through and say, I need some guidance. School are not listening to me. But of course, we created a website with lots and lots of information on as well. So we could guide them to the information that was on there, how to work with the school, how to deal with the school that wasn't listening, and stuff like that. And then the following day, there was an email from a school. Do you deliver workshops? Yeah, but we can't. We're really busy for the next sort of, you know, few weeks. Yeah. and then the team around me, who were all volunteers, like, You said yes. Yeah, I said yes. It's okay, it's fine. We'll write the workshops. And one of the team was a youth chaplain, and I knew that he wrote workshops for the church in Wales.
Yeah.
So I was like, I've got a task for you. He said, of course you have. And that's how, we started with our workshops. Wow. And then we wrote like a couple of publications, one for young people, one for parents.
Yeah.
And that's how we started to grow. We delivered assembly presentations. And then I stopped my counselling after 2.5 years because I just knew something had to go.
Yeah.
I went from full-time work to part-time work because I had to go then.
Yeah,
so my poor partner, bless him. Like, oh my gosh. And then, we started to get inquiries like sort of from Mid Wales and North Wales. So we became a Welsh charity rather than just South Wales. And it started to grow. You could see it growing and growing. The mentoring seemed to just be ticking over really well. We had a team. The team of mentors had grown by now, or counsellors as they were, but we called them mentors. That had grown.
Yeah. We
were helping and supporting these people. We were then linking with other organisations should we need them. So if a child maybe was being bullied at home, where did we refer that to? So we were linking with other child services to make sure that they got the right help. If it was bullying, we could deal with it. But if it needed further help, we needed to know where to go.
So that's quite a trajectory. Like you launched the website, you've got like a whole load of people in, you've got some people around you, like to help you or whatever. But you've got a national problem now. It's not just a localized one. You've got a national problem.
Yeah.
Predominantly then, now you're getting data coming through. You're seeing themes, you're seeing trends, you're seeing stuff. What do you think is the overriding? I'm not saying it's like one thing because it could be a combination of maybe, but what was the consistent themes that were coming out that was like startling, where you were like going, right, there's a problem. We need to solve the problem at source. Because I think so often we deal with the fruit of a problem and not necessarily get to the root of the problem. And I guess the years experience that you have, 20 odd years, now you're in that thing of, I've got data here that says these things need to change.
Yeah.
What were the themes that began to stick out for you?
The first one, nobody's listening to me. Nobody's listening to me. People.
So there's a denial.
The denial.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the most annoying one for us, and it still happens, stay away from the bully.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to do that? They follow you around.
Yeah.
You don't just jump in front of them and go, hey, here I am, do you want to pick on me today?
Yeah.
They follow you around. That's what they do. The person displaying that behaviour follows you around. So it's the most stupidest thing in the world to say to a person, stay away from them.
Yeah.
It's like going back years, isn't it? If your parent ever said, do you want a smack? No, but I'll have one tomorrow. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
And they were the most annoying things. And I had, there's no bullying in my school. Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
There's bullying in every school, every workplace, every community, some households, it happens everywhere. Let's not deny it. Let's just say, what can we do to prevent? What can we do to stop when it's happening? How can we protect these children, young people and adults? How can we support them?
So you see these trends, there's a denial aspect, there's the thing of like, just avoidance techniques, and then hopefully the problem will go away. And that's in the school setting predominantly. So what do you think within the school system or school setup allows for this to happen? What do you think they're lacking in order to get a handle on it?
I think a lot, not so much today, but back then there was a lack of training, a lack of awareness. And I think for many schools, there was the, if I admit to having bullying behaviour in my school, people won't want to send their children here.
Yeah.
Whereas we used to say, no, if you admit to it, because parents are not stupid, they know it happens.
Yeah.
But you say to them, we know bullying happens in every school, but in this school we're going to do this, and this to prevent it, to raise awareness. This is how we support the child that is impacted by the bullying behaviour, but this is how we support the child displaying the behaviour. Because if you don't support that child as well, you're never going to break that cycle.
Correct, yeah.
So you're going to give them the confidence to know that you are going to act.
Yeah.
And you know, parents want to see action. If my child is impacted by bullying behaviour, what will you do? How will you support my child? How will you protect my child?
Yeah.
That is what they want to know. By you saying it doesn't happen, that is saying to them, not bothered, not going to protect.
Well, you force a behaviour that means to take matters into their own hands.
Absolutely. And what we say to parents, you know, bullying is an emotive issue.
Yeah.
I knew that. I cried so much. I got angry.
Yeah.
I cried. You know, it's very emotional. I didn't want to send my son back to the school. I didn't want to send my son to school, full stop.
Yeah.
And what we don't want the parents to do is to go screaming through a school door, screeching at the receptionist, who's probably like,
Yeah.
I have no clue why you're here.
Yeah, of course.
Picking on the first teacher they see, who may or may not be, you know, the form tutor, or know this child in question.
Yeah.
There is a process to follow, and it can be frustrating because it can take time.
Yeah.
But there is always a process to follow. And this is what we're trying to encourage parents to do. But when you've got somebody saying, there's no bullying in my school, it's not going to work, because the parents' emotions are going to just go through the roof.
Oh, exactly.
And you can't blame them for that.
No.
You can't blame them. Their
No.
child needs protecting.
Well, as a
And
parent,
needs help.
yeah, as a parent, you want to protect your kids, right?
Of course
so
you do. Of
yeah, it's
course
very, it's an obvious 0 to 100 response.
Yes.
You know, because
Yeah.
ultimately it's like, well, you know, the father feels like he's got to protect, he's got to do whatever
Yeah.
he's got, and the mother maybe the same thing, and the situation is it's almost like whatever blows up still's not solving the problem.
No.
So you can cause this massive explosion and deal
Yeah.
with it and blah 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 blah, but it's not going to go away. And when it dissipates, it will, you know, it will carry on.
That's right.
you know.
And the other thing we try and stop is for this parent not to go to this parent.
Yeah.
Because then it's out in the community. The school can then say, oh, well, you've taken it to the community. And all the while this bickering and this arguing is going on, this child is still impacted by the behaviour. This child is still displaying behaviour. And it's almost like they get forgotten because the adults are arguing then. So
Yeah.
it becomes about the adults and not the children.
Yeah, and then it becomes who's the stronger adult, and then one
Absolutely.
adult bullies the other adult, and then you've gone from a localized problem to a community problem.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
And ultimately, they're adults, right? And that's
And
where all
goodness
kinds
knows
of
what
craziness
happens
happens.
then.
Exactly.
It just escalates to just, well, goodness knows not. You know, we've been in a school setting, and we've watched one mother march across the playground and headbutt another mother because of a situation which just turned out to be two little girls, and it was
But that's
done
the
and
thing. It's that
dusted.
escalation, right? It's
Yeah.
it's just that continual escalation. I remember, you know, I've told this story before on the podcast many years ago. But when I was a young kid, I think I was in infants, probably the last year of infants, and I was being bullied, mainly because for whatever reason, my mum, then my dad's grandma, or dad's mum, sorry, our grandma, got us shorts and sandals. And we were like cool kids at school, and now we're wearing shorts and sandals. I was like, oh gosh. And you know, we got bullied. You know, why are you wearing sandals? You know, and I remember, and then I think they were like, obviously we grew out the shorts or whatever, and I wasn't wearing them so much, but you remembered for that. And I remember having like a T-shirt, and it was like my teeth were growing through, and I was using the T-shirt as a bit of a comforter. And I looked down one day, and I just saw all these holes on my T-shirt, and this was a brand new T-shirt. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Mum's going to go mad. And they said, oh, so what's happened? So I come home, and they said, what's happened to your T-shirt? And I said, oh, Samuel did this. And they didn't really. But Samuel was the bully of the school.
Yeah.
So I said, Samuel did it. Now, Samuel has got a track record as long as your arm. So we know Samuel, one more thing, this guy's not going to be around. So I said, Samuel did it. So my mum called my bluff. She went, right, we're going down to the school then. I thought, okay. So we literally end up in the headmistress's office, me, Samuel, my mum. I can't remember if I don't think maybe his parent was there or not. I think the parent might have been, and the headmistress. And I said, talk us through what happened. And I said, oh, well, he got my shirt and then he started pushing sticks through it. And this is why I've got holes in my shirt. So I went, Samuel, yes. Is this what happened? And to my astonishment, he went, yes. And that was the end of Samuel. He left the school. He was expelled or whatever. I was a hero. In the whole school, that the bully would now disappeared, and the school was happy because they got rid of him, and I kept that quiet until I was about 15 before I could say anything about, Mum, remember that guy called Samuel? This is actually what really went on. And I look back then, and as I got older, I was like, well, yes, I don't know whatever happened to the guy. Hopefully he changed his ways, but that was my first experience of bullying, and the point is that I wouldn't consider myself a liar, but you get to the point where you'd do anything to get rid of the people that are involved.
That's right.
And that's what I did, and to my utter astonishment, the guy actually went along with it. So I think for me, bullying is a highly emotive thing. It's parents, it's community, it's a whole load of people. And for me, it is a thing that we don't talk about. And I think you touched on it earlier, even in work. Bullying in work can be a big thing, particularly in large corporates and ego-driven organisations. And people leave a job thinking, hey, I'm out of it. And then the same behaviours kick off again or whatever else. So what would you say about the bully? Because a lot of people don't talk about the bully so much.
They don't. And do you know what?
What would you do what does, because to be bullied, there must be a bully. So if we can fix the bully, is there a chance we could end the bullying potentially?
I always say that people can be fixed. They can.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not a bad child or a bad adult.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not always bad adults.
Yeah.
It's a behaviour.
Yeah.
And we've been challenged on this before, and people, especially in the context of adults, because they start talking about other crimes, but they're crimes. Yeah. Bullying isn't a crime.
Yeah. No.
It's not recognised as a crime.
No.
But there is, especially in young people, there's usually something going on in their lives, and they then display that behaviour. Of course, it's not right. Of course, it's not right.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're kids.
Yeah.
They are kids, and we have to remember this. They're still kids. They're still finding their way in the world, and their own path. And it doesn't make it right. But if we don't help and support those, then, like I said before, we're never going to break that cycle. No. We're never going to get those back on the right path. As long as we have humans, we'll always have bullying. Of course we will.
100%.
It's about making sure that we've got these processes and systems in place that we can just keep on preventing it. We can keep on supporting, keep on preventing, and just keep doing that through generation to generation.
No, that's good.
Because years ago when I was in school, we still had the cane.
Yeah.
Boys had the cane, girls had a ruler.
Yeah.
So if somebody was bullying somebody, right, you're going to get the cane. Oh, yeah, that works. Let's solve violence with violence. That really works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're going to make that person angry, So they're going to do it again.
Yeah.
And again and again.
To the point that cane they don't even feel it.
Of course, it's like, and it's like somebody constantly shouting. It's white noise, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know? But if we don't help that child that's displaying the behaviour, then we may never find out why they're displaying the behaviour. We don't know what's going on in their lives. You know, like as when I was growing up, I could have easily became the bully.
Yeah.
Easily. Because of what the challenging lifestyle I had.
Yeah.
And back then it was never challenged, so nobody would have found out what I was going through and been able to have helped and supported me.
Yeah.
And that could be going on with so many kids today. We just don't know. And when we talk to them, some of them will say, well, I've gone into school to be the bully rather than be bullied.
Yeah.
They have that mentality.
Okay.
I get it.
So
they're scared, especially going into high school from primary school. They're scared.
Oh, big time, because different sizes. You go from the top of the tree, don't you? And then you're back down again. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're scared. And I get it. They put on this like tough attitude. And others, they're going through some stuff.
Yeah. So,
and they're taking it out on others.
So when you look at the situation now, do you think, obviously we're aware of bullying, but do you think bullying is increasing? Or do you think the awareness of bullying is increasing? Do you think it's always been the same?
The awareness. And of course, with technology, we have more ways to bully.
Yeah, of course.
We do have more ways to bully.
Yeah.
And I think that can make it seem like it's increasing.
Yeah.
Because of the online stuff.
But it's more visible now.
It's more visible. Yeah, definitely is more visible.
You can track it.
Yeah.
So with that then, what do you, obviously, because there's talk at the moment of banning social media for 16 and below for possibly that reason.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it'll work.
No? Yeah.
No, I don't. Yeah. You know, it might have worked had we done it straight away.
Yeah. But
these kids have had access to it for years. And let's be honest, social media, you've got to be 13 for most platforms. Yeah. Most of them have been on it since they were 10 or 11.
Yeah.
They found a way around it. Yeah. They'll find another way around it.
Absolutely.
They will. So a blanket ban is not going to work.
Yeah.
It's about education.
Yeah.
Education. It's about empowering them to not want to go on it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
That it's not all that. It isn't. And we notice now, especially in the schools where they're locking their phones away, and in the beginning, they get a bit jittery.
Of course.
But after a while, it's like, and I think there's many adults are the same. When they just turn their phone off or they put it in a drawer or a cupboard, the relief of not having that phone is just like, wow. Yeah,
well, that's it. I turn my phone off now because we're doing a podcast, and it's like you can concentrate on that one thing. And I think you're right. I think the issue is that you're constantly dealing with information, and then you're constantly reacting to that information. So you could be having a perfectly good day with your family or whatever, as a child, and then you see something on social media that just sabotages your entire day. And I think in business that can be an email.
Yeah.
You're having a great day, and then you get an email at 5:30 on a Friday, and it's ruined your entire weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think what you're saying is about education. Bullying's going to come for whatever reason, through various different things. How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
You for example, even in business, you talk about bullying where you would get, let's say, a senior member of staff bullying a less senior member of staff. Yeah, that's an obvious one. But again, even client relationships, you'll get someone that just treats you in a certain way for no reason whatsoever because you remind them of someone else.
That's right.
Or you find out that you're working with someone and you're doing a great job or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're ghosted.
Yeah.
So there are many different ways to bullying and being able to handle it. And I think for me, it's that ability to educate across the multiple different is is a solution, and it's people like yourself, it's people like charitable organisation that said, you know what, we have now got all this data, and now we want to educate people that there's bullying in all forms of life, and we can educate you how to cope with it, and how to deal with it, how not to feed it and fuel it.
That's right.
Then actually we're in a much better position. And I think that's the big thing. It's like, well, let's cut this, let's ban this. It's the same thing of, can't you just not hang out with a bully then? Can you not have them follow you? Yeah. Well, if I'm on social media, they probably are following me. And I can't get rid of them.
Exactly.
I can block them, but they resurrect themselves on a different platform. Yeah. They're there. So it's the education part of, how do you not let it get to you? How do you not let it ruin your day? And I think those lessons are absolutely vital for us living a peaceable life.
They are. And we always say to young people with the workshops we deliver, because we deliver them on, of course we deliver one on online bullying and online safety for younger ones, and we have a digital footprint one, because there's still a lot of people who think, I've deleted that now, it's gone. Ooh. No, it doesn't work like that. It's there forever. Ever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
So we talk about their digital footprint and how it's important to create a positive one and not a negative one.
Yeah.
And that it's fine to unfollow somebody.
Yeah.
Because you don't like what they're posting.
Yeah.
It's fine not to add somebody because you're not sure about them and you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Because children will say to us, miss, I've got 2,500 friends on Facebook. But you haven't, though. Well, yeah, I have. No, you haven't. You've got 2,500 contacts on there.
Yeah.
But they're not your friends. No. You're allowing 2,500 people access to your life.
Yeah.
But you don't know who they are and what they do. Get rid. And we say the same to adults. It's not a popularity it's different when it's your business page. That's very different.
But even
then, be careful.
Well, exactly.
Be very careful
of who you add, because then, because you might get someone that follows you in business, and they're ultimately just going through your client list.
Of course they are. Of course they are.
Or they're keeping an eye on you because they're up to other things.
We're an anti-bullying charity and we've had it.
Exactly.
And I'll be totally honest. Social media bores me.
Yeah.
The charity is on there and I am on there and I post personally the odd post, but most of the time it's to share the charities. And it was by somebody I know very well and we get on very well. And they said, do you know what? You're probably the worst founder ever because you're never on social media. You're hardly ever on LinkedIn. And I said, I know. Number one, I don't have the time because we are a tiny charity. We've only got 2 employees.
Yeah.
And there's 2 freelancers.
Yeah.
I haven't got the time. I'm 100 miles an hour. And the last thing I want to do then, when I finished, is go on social media. We do have somebody that helps with our social media, but there's only so much you can pay a person to do when your funds are limited.
Yeah, of course.
That's the last thing for me is social media when I've got kids that need counselling and kids that need help and support. That's the priority for us,
But it's interesting to see what's happening in trends.
Yeah.
So what's shifting now is, whereas before it's about gaining a massive following and monetizing that following, the shift now is building tribes that are relevant to your audience, your world, for example. And so there's a shift where you're not so visible on social media, but you're visible to your community, and I think ultimately then you're in control of who's in your life and who's not in your life. That's what I quite like about it. Now, talking to strangers, ultimately that's how you're going to grow a business, right? But it has its place. But then you have this core community that you continually test products and try products, rather than being so public. And there's this thing that, I was watching some futurist guy, and he said that the biggest thing that's happening now within the young people is unplugging. And they call it like unplugging parties. So you would turn up Everyone puts their phones in a box, and they put those boxes and lock them in the locker, and then they do that activity. So if it's abseiling, climbing, whatever it is, they do that activity with no social media whatsoever, and then they finish, and then they get their phone out. They're literally off grid for 2 hours. Now, we used to live life off grid, you know, and I think people are starting to realise that that aspect of always being on is mentally draining in itself.
It is.
Yeah.
It is emotionally draining, and of course there's stuff online that nobody should ever be viewing.
Yeah.
Nobody, never mind a young person.
Yeah.
No one. And you know, we've had parents post on our page, "Oh, my child viewed this or that." Like, what? How?
Yeah.
You know, oh, somebody forced him or her to watch it. It's like, oh, for goodness sake, come on, this is what we've got to get away from.
Yeah.
You know, and of course the tech giants have to play a big part. They have to play a big part in this.
Yeah.
It isn't just about parents educating their kids and empowering their kids to say no. They have to play. Why can't they get rid of this material online?
Yeah.
You know, they're the big tech giants. It should be very simple for them to get rid of it.
Yeah,
Should be.
It's one of those things whereby you end up with they're in this funny state where you got freedom of speech and freedom of expression, but at the same time you got the balance of people being allowed into that platform and what are the checks and balances for them to get into it and access it, you know. And I guess like in the years gone past, you if I'm into cars, I buy a car magazine, or if I'm into sport, I buy a sport magazine. The problem with social media is, depending on what your one search term is, opens a floodgate for information, and you can't do anything with it. You know, I'm not pretending I know what the solution is, but I think what's happening is people are recognizing it's just too noisy. It's too much noise. So the best thing I can do now is just unplug. And what I find really interesting, certainly that's emerged out of COVID, is the amount of people that don't watch the news anymore, because it's too noisy. I don't necessarily trust it, and I've been so much happier since I've stopped watching it. You know, and I think there is a clue there in the fact that we are too connected to some degree, where we're not engaged with our present. We're connected with what could happen in the future, and I think that for me is where things are happening, whereby you've got a community that you engage with in the present. Other than that, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Because that's how life used to live.
That's right.
It didn't matter.
And we were all fine.
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. So from your perspective then, obviously you've grown this charity, you're impacting, you know, hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
You're based in Wales and UK now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about the rest of the world? Have you thought beyond that?
Well, it's funny you should say that.
Oh, there we go. Here we go. Just because, you know, you haven't got enough to do, right? Yeah.
Because with COVID, we had to adapt to go virtual.
Yep.
So we adapted all of our stuff so that we could deliver it virtually. And then we had requests from the United States and Malta and Portugal, Thailand, Poland, United Arab Emirates. You're not going to say no, are you?
No, of course you're not.
Not going to say no.
No.
So we can deliver virtually as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course some of our stuff, it's like, it's not possible for that program, but we can do this program. And, you know, if they want the resources, then of course, well, they have to pay for it anyway, but they have to pay the postage for the resources to be sent. Because if we ever get funding, it's most certainly not to be spent in the US. It's got to be spent either, if it's English-based funding, it's got to be spent, you know,
of course.
Wherever, the funder says it's got to be spent.
But I guess the thing is that, you know, the impact and influence goes beyond just these shores, and ultimately you can go as far as you want to go, so to speak, and creating engagement and partnerships. And like you said, bullying in this country can be, you know, it's a problem. It's a big problem, whatever. Bullying in the States is even crazier.
It's a problem everywhere.
You know,
it's a problem everywhere. It's the same thing everywhere.
It's just, you look at like the difference between, I guess, the States and the UK is guns. you know, and
But bullying amongst kids is still bullying.
100%.
It's still bullying behaviour.
You still got the behaviours that need to be dealt with.
The teachers are still struggling with what to do. How do I deal with this within the school setting? Because, you know, a lot of when teachers are in teacher training, you know, a lot of them tell us that bullying behaviour is only glossed over on how to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have a lot of training on bullying behaviour.
Yeah.
And how to handle it.
But if you go into a lot of the problems in schools, it's a result of bullying.
Of course it is.
You know,
of course it is.
So if you go back to, so if you're going back to the root of the problem, it's like, if we can fix that, then you can begin to fix everything else. And I don't believe we do want to go to the root of the problem, because then you've got to do something about it.
Yeah.
You've got to take responsibility.
Yeah. So that's why we deliver training for teachers and for professionals in the workplace. So we've got CPD training for those as well.
Wow.
And, you know, we've developed massively, and sometimes I just think need to slow down a bit and stop developing, but you can't. It's an issue that just keeps changing and growing. Yeah. And when I say growing, I mean, you know, there's always new ways to bully, whether it's gaming, whether it's social media, whether they you know, there's another platform, or there's this or there's this. So we've got to sort of keep up with these trends and make sure that we can support the children that are using them as well. We had to make sure that we could support, there's 1 in 3 adults bullied in the workplace. Wow. So we have to make sure that we can support those as well. We have to support parents. How do I deal with this? How do I work with a school? And make sure that they have the right information as well. And so we have to keep up with so much. And then it was sort of, okay, what can we do? What else can we do? What else can we give them? And so towards the end of last year, we developed a membership program. So it was for individuals. Mm-hmm. We've developed an education membership and a corporate membership, a business membership. Yep. And for the education and the business, when of course they cost money, but for those two, then they can sign up, and then they can access a bank of resources that they can take and deliver in their own time. Yeah. So PowerPoints, guidance documents, and things that might come in useful for lunch and learns, or, you know, they might just want to share them around their team.
No, it's great.
Just anything that can help them. And we've got a download section that has got so much that people can download free of charge as well.
I would say there's no end to your vision. It's a big vision. It's a wide vision. So there's people listening on the podcast. Where do you need your greatest help? You're a charity. What's the greatest help? So what's the greatest?
It's always money, isn't it?
It's always money.
It's money and volunteering. It's a charity. There's always money. Yeah. We are a small charity with a huge workload. Okay. I mean, financially, I joke sometimes because, like, my friends and family would say, "Yeah, but you're 20 years old. The charity must be loaded." Go on the Charity Commission website and read our financial. In fact, I'll send it to you. Yeah. I'll send you our financial, our annual finances. You know, they're hysterical. And I quite often say to my friends and family, "You've probably got more in your savings account than we have in our end of year budget." Yeah. However, we've never been in debt, and we always pay our bills, and that's the one thing that we always say. Great. That, you know, and we'll stick by that. But of course, doesn't matter what size your charity, you need money, and you need money to grow. Yeah. And we need a bigger team. Yeah. You know, our trainer, Jen, is amazing, and she goes up and down the country delivering our work. And we've got another freelancer, Fionn. Again, Fionn stays in South Wales, but she's brilliant as well. But it's not enough. We need more. We need more trainers, because we could probably book in 2 or 3 schools a day rather than 1 school a day. Yeah. Or 2 schools some days. I mean, we're now fully booked up until the end of April. Wow. and schools are saying, can you not fit us in before? No, we'd love to, but we
just
can't.
haven't got the
We just
capacity.
haven't got the capacity.
Yeah.
We haven't got the but again, you're up against, when you're applying for funding, when you're asking people to fundraise, you're up against a lot of amazing charities in Wales.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
Every charity deserves the help and support. How does a person choose? It's really tough.
I think for me, it's definitely looking at the people, the survivors, the people that have, come through the bullying journey and then want to pass that on to someone else. And I think those are the types of people that you could win to your cause.
That's right.
That have you been bullied? Yes. Do you want to help someone that has been in your situation because you know what it's like? Yes. Okay. Well, here's the options for you.
Can you please do this?
Can you please do this? And I think that's probably as a marketeer, that's my background. That might be the first port of call, is to,
reach out to those.
Yeah, that have been through that journey, and that you can help through going on podcasts, sharing your experience, talking in front of people, all the other kind of stuff. So you begin to engage their journey, because ultimately you need people that have done what you've done, as in you've come through it and then you did something about it. And there might be a whole load of people that have come through it but not necessarily done anything about it. I might not know how to do that. And so it's getting in front of those types of people to be able to tell their story. And I think if we think about it deep down, I think anybody that's human has lived any sense of long life. We've all been bullied at some point. That's the reality is, and sometimes we get through it. Sometimes circumstances mean they move on or whatever, but we've all been there. And it's like, but there's a lot of missing education of how do you get through it. And many of us have got through it through avoidance. But actually it's not to avoid, it's like confront and deal and deal it constructively, and giving organisation those tools to make that happen.
And for most of us, it will stay here. I can still remember every single thing that she said to me. And like, you're talking of over 50 years ago, and it's still in my head.
It's that thing, isn't it? Sticks and stones will break my bones, words will never hurt me. It's the biggest load of rubbish ever.
Rubbish, absolute
it's rubbish. Words will stick with you. Words will live
they
you for 25, 30 years.
Ever and ever.
Exactly.
They do. And, I will live with an eating disorder. It's an addiction, and I'll live with that for the rest of my life. And every time I struggle with anything, it's the first thing. It's like, I don't want to eat. I I have to be very careful. And I've also swung to become bulimic as well.
Yeah.
So you'll swing between the two. So, I do have to be really careful. But as a result of the high impact sport that I did and an eating disorder, I've got osteoporosis, I've got osteoarthritis, I've had 3 joint replacements. And then this
troublesome knee
back on crutches, and I fractured my spine twice through sneezing. So I know you got to laugh. I have to laugh.
Just
about
out of curiosity, I'm sure people are all thinking, what was the high impact sport you did?
Well, number one, I ran a lot. And back then you didn't have the trainers that you have today.
No, you didn't. Plimsolls, wasn't it?
Yeah, you didn't have running tracks. I just ran.
Okay.
And ran.
Yeah.
Beats me, mind, with my sense of direction, how I ever found my way home.
Maybe that's why you were running so far.
I do not have a built-in sat-nav.
Yeah.
I did real, high impact weights, aerobics.
Okay. Right.
I did swim, which is not high impact, but I used to swim 2 to 3 miles before going to work.
Wow.
And then I swam again after work, which was probably the best thing for me. I went on from being petrified of water to learning to swim.
Wow,
I was 28 when I learned to swim, and then I became a swimming teacher as well. But I stopped swimming when I had my first hip replacement 7 years ago. Combined with a knee replacement, I just got a bit edgy.
Okay.
And, But I did a lot. Too much. Oh my God! I was just 100 miles an hour in a gym and in sport. There was not a sports class that I didn't do, and it was all fast,
high impact,
high impact, 100 miles an hour. and not eating and not fueling my body.
Right.
You know, I was like 6 stone.
Oh.
My body just, you know, and I was in and out of hospital, and they'd say to me, you know, when you're about 40, your joints will crumble. Well, back then, at 40, that's miles away.
I know.
I'll be better by then. I'll be better. I'll be fine by then. Well, of course I wasn't.
Right.
I wasn't. And this is why I think I was so scared with my son. And although he does go to the gym every day, he eats perfectly. He knows exactly what to do and what not to do in the gym.
Yeah.
Because none of my children ever want to end up with joints like their mother.
But you know what? One of the things that you said, you know, through the podcast is it's this generational thing, and I think one of the things that I talk about is that if you imagine 100 years, a generation is measured in 25 years, that we all have an ability or a mission or something to begin to alter the course of a generation. And you know, I look at my family. My mother's father was an alcoholic. She'd come out of that situation or whatever, and that had a knock-on effect with her brothers and so on and so forth. You know, we saw that whole bullying thing in our lives, and we kind of then made big decisions. And I think what we need to do, and I think what you've demonstrated here, is that you can't solve the whole problem, but you can be a solution to what's in front of you. And it's to take that responsibility and say, look, it's a huge problem, but someone's got to start somewhere. And I think that's what you've done. You know, you started somewhere, taking your savings out and investing it into a website that then crashed because there was such a big need out there. And now you've got a charity that's growing. And I think, you know, the reality is that you made a decision to change the course of your family and generations beyond. And I think that's where we are, is that if we can all become educated in the area of bullying, then hopefully, we know it's always going to be with us, but we know how to handle it if it ever resurrects itself in our life.
And I think that's important, is knowing how to handle it, because back then, you know, my family didn't know what to do. Yeah. You know, my mum became an alcoholic because of the domestic violence, and she died young. One of the incidents ended up with her at the bottom of the stairs, and she suffered a massive stroke and went on to have 2 more. And one of the clots remained and took her at 64. So she died very young. And you know, it's tough to sort of, when as I was growing up, I mean, I was sort of, I think, 41 when my mum died, and that was sort of before the organisation was set up, and in my head I was thinking then, you know, like, nobody should have to go through this. No. You know, like, domestic violence is an absolute severe form of, it's a crime in my head. It's a, you know, people say, oh, it's bullying. Oh, it's a severe form of bullying. It's on another level. Yeah. It's domestic violence. But he was a bully in school. Yeah. And it wasn't addressed. There you go. Years ago, we worked in a local prison with 20 youngish offenders. Yeah. And they, of domestic violence, 16 had bullied in school and got away with it. 16 out of the 20. Wow. Had bullied in school and got away with it. And I'm not saying that everyone that is, you know, then they've got a perpetrator of domestic violence was a bully at school. But these 16 out of 20 of these particular young men were. Well, you know, it's a strange one, because I used to go into a prison called Pucklechurch Prison, and which was a young offenders prison. Funny enough, it was full of people from Merthyr Tydfil. But what was again sad to that, I would say, a high, and I mean an extraordinary high thing, was that these guys were in crime, they were in trouble, and they all had issues with their fathers. Yeah. All of them. Yeah. Either absent or abusive. And that, clearly, that's a generational problem that had gone through. And the sad thing was, they actually used to say, well, we feel safer in prison than out. And they would reoffend. I mean, one guy literally said to me, he says, well, I'm finished, I'm being let out next week, but I'll be back here in 3 weeks. So sad. And he was. He just reoffended. He just broke into a car. Yeah. And he said, I've got my mates here. I don't want to be at home and in that environment, so I'd rather stay in prison.
And you're thinking, God, life must be that bad that you
Yeah.
have to stay in prison. And I think it goes back down to the thing is that the biggest thing we can do is educate and break cycles,
Yeah.
generational cycles.
Yeah.
And I think that's absolutely what you're doing. And, you know, you might be not so all action physically now, but you're certainly all action in terms of like mentally.
I need to stop this physical action. I can't even turn over in bed without damaging a knee. You know?
But you are impacting people, and I think, you know, if there are people listening here today, you know, that they've heard your story, and you elevate in that challenge, where would they reach out to you to get involved? Is it just the website, simple as that?
The website, yeah. The website, and of course we're not on X anymore.
Okay.
We've just got a holding post on X, but we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah.
And
now on a podcast.
And now on a podcast. Yeah.
No, so thank you so much, Linda. It's been
thank you.
It's been a privilege to just talk about your journey and your story and the impact that you're making. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Keep inspiring in the next generation to keep going after you as well. And listen, it's great in terms of telling stories about a situation or circumstance that was tough, but you actually turned that around to something positive, which is incredible. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being part of the Purpose People podcast. You're listening to us on a regular basis helps us get the message out there that living life on purpose is the best possible life to live. How can you help us? Well, you can like and subscribe to us on YouTube, but you can also follow our podcast channels, which are on Apple, Amazon, and Spotify. Please keep supporting us. Please keep liking and sharing us. Please keep following us on social media. And you know what? We're inspiring more and more people to live life on their terms.